Blowskis. Look at this. It's like a new Fantastic Four.
How many Ric Flair divorces?
I think we're 5 now.
Yeah. Hey, StreamYard can handle up to 10 people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, keep it up, Rick. Keep it up.
Keep going.
Yeah, I think he's got one more in him. You know, I know he's getting up there, but I think he can do one more.
I mean, you always got to have that getting dead money, you know.
All them nerds, Mitch. All them nerds.
Sure.
Saw your King Ginger. It's Sunday morning. I got my tired face on. Prep school. I don't know what we're doing today. I'm kind of fiddling with down in Outlands, but Bearded asked if we had anything planned, and we didn't. Last weekend, the beautiful Colin and I built an RPG that Colin's going to run at some point, and it was magic. Even though we fucked up, or I should say I fucked up in the first 45 minutes of the episode, did not get recorded or aired, so we missed live from the toy swap.
That was a legit loss. That was fun.
I mean, I couldn't hear a goddamn thing you guys were saying.
Mitch, that's not funny. That's not funny. We live on Hoth right now. We were just talking about we are running out of places to put the snow.
Yes.
It's
this
last end of the week sucked.
True story.
I'm looking forward to mowing my lawn.
Yeah.
I like mowing my lawn. Throwing, almost 2 feet of snow in 4 days suck asshole.
Yeah.
No lie.
So, I asked that this morning because I'm also fixing to run this week, and I've been running the D&D Next pre-5th edition Temple of the Dracolich series, and basically porting it to 5e. So some of the monster boys and other things need analogs, but as usual, Lazy Dungeon Master has had a really great article on kind of porting that over to 5th edition. And let me just tell you, when you decide,
let me tell you something, dude.
Let me tell you, brother. When you take them troglodytes and you think, should I port these over to 5th edition? How should I do it? And you turn them into Joey Meatballs and a bunch of Union boys. That's the best thing you could ever do for the Dracolich, man. The Cult of the Dragon has taken over this formerly Temple to Baal. So there's all these like really cool idols to Baal throughout the space, and they have a series of 4 different transportation like portals. And
I know you're saying Baal with 2 A's, but I keep hearing Baal with 2 L's.
Oh,
and all these idols to Baal.
Oh.
That's a very different approach.
You got them temples to Baal. Okay, so Baal is in there, and then you go, and this one goes to that one, and this one goes to that one. Anyway, very fun. For some reason, Joey Meatballs came up. Oh,
what?
Yeah, baby.
For the very first time.
Well,
I bite off more than I can chew.
Yeah, why aren't you on? This is what I'm talking about. What if you want
a link, Mitch, I'll send you a link, and you can jump on with us and tell us about this sweet foray into DMing.
Yeah. So anyway, the troglodytes, I made them all into like union men. Like Joey Meatballs was one of their kind of union leaders, and it was real fun because you can imagine. I mean, you guys all know when you get Joel, Nate, Warrior, and Christy in a party, like the RP is going to be heavy, and
that's a heavy hitting group of role playing right there.
Yeah. Hey yo, I'm Scotland here. Yes. And so Spike, you'd be very proud. No witnesses, 0 witnesses. So they've been making their way through, like they kind of made a deal with the troglodytes, and they're just like Warrior put on his best like Union boy thing. It's very funny. It's like very reminiscent of how they like played the Zero session when they got underground. There was a lot of talking with people and trying to reason or like bluff their way through and say like they're mercenaries or that so and so sent them, and it's been very fun until they have a map that just has the basics on it, and they wanted to get to this room that one of the portals was in, and occasionally Nate forgets that he's an Owlin. So when he did his stealth check, he decided that he's like, yeah, I'm just going to walk across, creep across this barracks that had like 14 beds, and like they were all full. And Nate, if he's flying, is going to get advantage on a stealth check, per like how I treat his Owlin, the slowest of birds, but also the quietest of birds. But he goes, yeah, I'm just gonna like creep across. And I was like, you're just gonna kind of like walk across? And he's like, yeah. And I was like,
a beautiful visual though.
All right, yeah. Christy sends this message yesterday. It was like a little reel from Instagram, and it's this like lady sitting like this with this like catch right here, and then all of a sudden Owl just like walks by, and she like, like what? And I was like, and that is how they woke up the entirety of the barracks of this dragon cult. And basically the last half of our session, we've moved to playing in person for the first time since the pandemic, every other week. And I would say half of our session was just combat because there were so many. And then Warrior's like, oh, I'm going to get into that next room since I wasn't seen. And I'm like, okay. And he opens it, and it's like, of course, it's where one of the portals is, so it's like a worship room, and there's a bunch of cultists like around this like giant like skeletal dragon head, and they all kind of like, it's like Animal House where the jukebox just shuts down, and they all look over, and there's just a freaking minotaur standing in
you mind if we dance with your dates?
Yeah. And so then I'm like, all right, dude, here's 7 magic missiles. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna end up with a TPK, but they're, it's gotten to the point where they've, like, if this happens, then these people hear this coming, and if that happens, then these people hear those people coming, and they come. So it's just been this like, we actually like paused like mid combat because like. Oh, it's yeah. This is Spike just realized I mixed up troglodytes and troglobites for that joke. Either way, no witnesses. There's a lot of witnesses.
I want a T-shirt that says D&DDT, no witnesses.
Ooh. I like that. So on we go with those guys in the Temple of the Dracolich. It is pretty funny. Speaking of owlbears, you teased.
If I can make a recommendation, if you're going to go to another module soon, do White Plume Mountain. Yeah. It's great.
Do what?
Do White Plume Mountain, and there was a 5e playtest version of White Plume Mountain. It's really good. Zach ran it for us.
Nice.
I got to play. I got to play one of my favorite characters I've ever played, the Tired, who was a former gladiator who was like this huge chubby guy, kind of built to look like a more handsome version of John Tenta. And I was constantly like,
more handsome version of John Tenta.
He would constantly be like,
that's hard.
Oh, we're going to go into that room and fight. I'm going to go take a nap. I need like a 20 minute snooze, and then I'll be ready.
That's amazing.
He was constantly like wanting to sleep and eat everything.
Robert,
hey, Robert Leon, nice to see you.
Thanks for joining. I love that. Ring of protection from ice. I kind of love the idea of like just a person with a ring or pocket full of rings.
Cassandra has a Kender that has a jacket of pockets, and she just hoards everything, but especially food, because we found out in a previous one episode ago, we found out that her family went hungry for a while on Kryn because they were Kender and weren't allowed anywhere. So when they had to give something to Charon, the ferryman, because we also found out that even though a bunch of these kids are from different worlds, they all have similar myths. And one of them is the ferryman. And they all had to give him something of value, and she gave him a sandwich.
Yeah.
And she was like, "It's my last sandwich."
Oh,
Damn.
One of the NPCs gave him her hair. She cut off her long hair. One of them was an owlin, and she did this like ceremonial dance. I'm trying to remember what everybody else. The only person who didn't have to give anything was Twig, which is Nate, because Twig is currently working for Baron Samedi, who is an avatar of death, and therefore everything in the underworld of Mount Celestia, aka Olympus, can't see him.
Oh,
so he's just
That's a good twist.
walking around doing whatever he wants. Vampire Kender is pretty great.
That's sweet.
also,
They're no neck boys.
your idea of a person with a bunch of rings then made me think of them having them on like another like chain or something, so they're having to file through them to find the one they need.
Like
janitor.
Like
I
a
think of
janitor.
the scene from The Mummy where the Benny has all the different religious like
Yeah.
going through it. I love that. Oh man, that's so great.
So they met the Fates last weekend or 2 weeks ago.
Ooh.
And one of the Fates was Doris, and she talked like this.
My 6th grade teacher was named Doris.
They named her Doris.
Wonderful woman.
Doris or Dolores?
Doris.
Oh,
Okay.
you sweet child. Look at you. It's your fate is so special. But just don't ask me to tell you about what happens to your family.
She sounds like she belongs on Stairway to the Stars, my friend.
Yeah, it was last week was Chaos Scar. I'm trying to remember what happened. Cassandra did kill, or thought they killed, the big bad of that adventure. I ran an adventure called The Brothers Gray, which is again part of the Chaos Scar 4th edition adventure path. And the whole thing is like these 3 really, really ruthless, murderous halfling brothers who are like basically shaking down locals and killing them. There's also mentioned earlier in that adventure path, you run into a halfling priestess of Torog. And they say, if she gets away, then she would immediately hook up with these brothers Gray. So she had gotten away in very, very spectacular fashion from John Senegar and Wild Tybalt and that crew, which was funny because they had to. The whole Temple of Torog was made so if you were tall, you had to stoop or be on your knees because the ceiling was super low. And because she was a halfling, she didn't have to do that. So it made it hard for them to get her. But they went to this, like the adventure's pretty simple and pretty well done. They had stocked up on some interesting stuff ahead of time. So they blew up a bunch of underlings from across the clearing. So they cut the numbers down really, really quickly. But main bad guy was on it's a old abandoned dwarven mine, and it's a shaft that goes straight down. So there's this huge shaft tower with the chains, and he was standing on the chain, just plinking them from almost maximum range with a crossbow, and they had no way to get to him. So they're all like, he's knocking them down. They're healing to get back up. They're stuck in a space where there's not a lot of cover. And they're like, we're going to die. Like, maybe we should just go. We don't have any way to get him. So Cassandra's digging through her notes. Yeah, that battle axe, though. They also met some kobolds and made a friend, a kobold friend. Cassandra remembers she had the slow meringue, which is a chat invention, which is a boomerang that you throw, and it's got an incredibly long distance, and it'll come back to you within 48 hours. So she realized this guy was in distance of the slow meringue and then critted.
Oh.
He failed his deck save and fell off the chain. But as they figured out, he teleported during his real long fall. So he's still alive, and so is the Morgana, the priestess of Torog. So they've got 2 NPCs floating out there that are pretty much want to kill anyone from the Finders Guild, which is the name of their guild now. I had a dream, and all I could come up with was a compass, but all of the arrows are swords.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, oh, why wouldn't they just be like the Finders Guild? So they're the Finders. I just got to find a way to come up with that image. Anyway,
send it to me. I'll put something together.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, it was a good adventure. I really enjoyed the Chaos Scar stuff. It's been pretty fun. Slow Meringue was amazing. It is. That's what we agreed upon when we went off air. The beginning of the next time she plays, the Slow Meringue will come back to her.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Mitch has decided that the rival of the Finders Guild is the Keepers. He came up with that in chat, and now I have to build around that because it is too good not to.
That's really good.
Actually, I might make the Keepers a thing like everywhere. I really like that idea of like a group that is a loose affiliation, kind of like the Intelligencia in Marvel, but they're like a group of hoarders. They hoard magical things and items. I really like that idea.
No, that's a solid.
Every single D&D group ever.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It could be some previous characters.
Adventures. Yeah.
Because I still have loosely connected Bargrit and Roni into D&O, and I want them to actually show up rather than just in notes. Yeah. And I'm going to use. I've decided I'm going to use the external exchange to have them be in that situation.
Wait, is that in D&O or is that in Chaos Scar?
I'm going to have it be in both.
Oh, okay.
Because they take place in the same multiverse. So,
gotcha.
So yeah, I'm going to have Roni and Bargrit show up at the external exchange with the Price Master. Ignore me. So yeah, that's so they met the Fury, or excuse me, they met the Fates. They're getting ready to meet the Furies. And one thing I kind of decided on is because kind of one of the themes going is that there's been this hard imposition of the ebb and flow of chaos and order on Mount Celestial has steered hard towards order. Is now there's a lot of paperwork involved. And so the Furies basically give the PCs 24 hours because that's how long the paperwork is going to take to process. And if they don't get out of the underworld in 24 hours, they will not be getting out at all because they will be killed and they will now be dead and be where they're supposed to be. So,
wow.
So that's kind of how we're going to do the early start. But I got to figure out like who I want them to run into next in order to go to the external exchange. So, and with what you guys kind of gave me, I'm really torn because Hypnos and Thanatos are awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I really like Nyx as well, but I think Nyx would be hard to get to. And then, of course, we have Hecate. So it's going to be one of those individuals. I thought about using Hecate to steer them away from Persephone and Hades because we kind of talked about how she is sort of the underlying antagonist, less by design and more by just what she wants. So can like steer them, basically like show up and be like, you're not supposed to be here. But what do you know? So I overheard that you wanted to talk to Persephone. Well, I can facilitate that. But I need you to do this. and steer them toward Hypnos and Thanatos.
Yeah.
And they could want something in order to like get the PCs to Persephone, and then that would lead them to the external exchange. Because I really like the idea of Thanatos being Mr. Rogers and Hypnos being Dr. Manhattan. I don't remember who all came up with those ideas, but they're so good.
It was a team effort.
Yeah.
It was a good team effort.
What would be the, I guess, MacGuffin of sorts that Hypnos and Thanatos would want?
That's the thing. I would assume it's probably Hypnos, because we talked about kind of that anhedonia.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, that kind of, I've seen everything. I've seen all of your dreams. So there's nothing new that I want.
Would he want some kind of the ability to have some sensation of some sort?
That's what I'm thinking, is Thanatos could then chime in. I see them as like Bert and Ernie in a way too.
Or is it somebody like, does he want somebody to take the job away? Like, I don't have to do this anymore.
Oh, maybe he just wants a break. Like
kind of like Hercules and Atlas.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Ooh.
I like that idea. But he has to have somebody who can do it.
Yeah.
So he needs them to go to the external exchange to find someone who can do it.
Or to find something that can create give somebody the ability to do it.
Or to drop off applications. I'm seriously thinking like,
yeah, I mean,
he has like these tablets and he's like, I know a place where people frequent where I might be able to find a good applicant. I want you to drop these off. I like that.
Go hang some flyers for me.
Basically, yeah. You want to be my street team?
Yeah. I need you to vet some candidates.
That would give them a way into the external exchange. I kind of want to use Hermes as well, because the fact that you guys made him McGurk from home movies makes me happy. So maybe he's like there also doing stuff, and he's like, wait, these are for like, oh, this is hey, what's that over there type of thing. This is a bad idea. Because because
it's a bad idea.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch a little bit more McGurk to get the. I'm trying. I vaguely remember it. I think it's just because I remember H. John Benjamin's voice more. Than
yeah. I mean, you know the voice.
McGurk's always like taking like the easiest route, and he's always self.
Why is he doing this? This seems like a lot of paperwork. He could just not show up to work.
Yeah, like
he could call in sick. He could just call in sick and just not be there, and no one would really know.
The Coach McGurk line that is just always stayed in my head is I've got gingivitis, Brandon. Oh, like in the commercials, yeah, or in the movies, right? Commercials or in the movies.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to think about that, because I like the idea of them running into him there, and he's like, hey, wait a second. Like, how did you get here? I do.
Yes.
Do you want me to send you a link, Mitch, so you can jump in? Because I'll do it. I'm not afraid.
Mitch just wants to do it via chat too.
Hey, it's happening. It's happening.
Awesome.
All right, Mitch, let me grab a link for you. Sorry, I went over I actually clicked on the YouTube thing I was watching. I was like, why are Julie and Jacob from Drawfee on my screen? I was like, oh, wrong.
While we wait for Mitch's phenomenal misadventures, I've hatched an ingenious plan.
Oh.
And it has to do with, I don't know if you're familiar with Netbricks, but it's Netflix for Legos.
Okay.
And they have monthly subscriptions. I've done it in the past because I like me some Legos, but I don't have places for
Legos.
Me some Legos. Yeah. And you can do, it's like $30 a month plus shipping to just like get sets that are worth up to like $100. Just like you do it, you send it back, they send you a new one just like over and over again.
That's
But
interesting.
you can get one up to like, it's like an $85 a month, right? So hear me out here. It's like you can get up to $800 worth of Legos at a time.
Jeez.
And they send once a month. But I was like, if you did this between like, let's just say it's the four of us. Let's just say that this is the four of us, right? And we're each paying $20 a month to be able to build the Death Star or the 3-foot long helicarrier. I was like, this is something that I'm very seriously considering for my summer months. Like, that would be amazing. There's a 1.5 2-foot wide space next to that window. Fill it with Lego. Thanks, Mike. But we put together the first little buddy shelf. And as you can see, Rex is hanging out in there for the time being. Also, I got a 1/6 Rex from one of David's COG members that was getting rid of a bunch of stuff. And he's beautiful. But yes.
So real quick for the chatsters, because I wasn't on Tiny Mang. I got a couple things that I've finished up.
Oh yes.
Oh, make you big.
I don't like.
Yeah,
that's not what I wanted to do. I can always forget how to do it.
It's the one with the big man next to the Tiny Mang.
So there's also this cool mask I made that I painted with it, but it's not sticking on very well right now, and I'm worried it's going to take the paint off that I had to use to get the skin tone right. So I got to figure that out. Matt was saying it doesn't need the mask, which I actually kind of agree with.
Got enough going on.
I'm working on this. I need to finish the head. I need to take this furry boy off and trim it down, and then turn these spiky boys and this chest thing into more fur. We got some work to do on that. I finished this finally.
Yeah.
It turned out pretty good. Real Mitch.
Whoa.
And then
welcome.
And then I finished this dude.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Took me a little bit to get. Again, the color match is not perfect, but it's pretty decent.
Color matching is always it's always just a matter of good enough.
Yeah. Mitch, tell us the tale of your people.
All right, so this has been an idea which I've had like forming in the back of my brain for a while. Before I started playing D&D, I was able to get PDFs downloaded off the internet of a whole bunch of 2E stuff. And I just fell in love with Planescape, and I've always wanted to do something Planescape related. And since I'm going to be moving in a bit, this is going to be one of the last sessions I'm with my current group, so I wanted to try DMing for the first time. So
it's nice. It's a group of people you know and have played with, so they're going to be able to be not forgiving, but help you out, and learning the process, because it can be daunting.
Oh yes, which I've realized. So what I came up with is a convoluted thing. So first I wanted to give them some range to sort of just have fun. So I said, sure, level 13 characters. Fun, don't usually get that high, so you can just come up with weird combinations of what you want to do. Which was fun. That probably made them a little bit too overpowered, and trying to find good monsters to match that was kind of hard. So the whole setup was basically, first off, they get dragged into the domains of dread, and they end up in Castle Ravenloft. And then they are charged by Strahd to investigate a neighboring domain that somehow its inhabitants have been encroaching and kidnapping the peasantry from village Barovia. And then they go off. I also didn't want it to be too railroady, so I had like options. If they went north, they were going to encounter like a whole domain full of Dolahans, the headless knight armor phase things.
Yep.
And then if they go south, they encounter basically just like a roving pack of Lopo Rogaru, the like higher grade werewolves that are like challenge rating 14. So I didn't want to be like, oh no, you could only go this way. Like if they decide to go, yes, it's not encouraged, but that. So I put some planning into that. But the whole thing was they were going to encounter this guy running away from a single vampire kender. None of them were from Kryn, so they wouldn't know what a kender was. So there was that. Turns out the person running away was the dungeon master from the old D&D cartoon.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And he charged them. They were looking. He came to this the Domain of Dread looking for one of his books, and he found it. But in the process, Kender being Kender, they stole the book which he had. And then charged them to find it. And, like, this was, like, a whole bigger campaign idea. Basically, what the Dungeon Master was searching for was actually D&D source books. And I was working with a mechanic, basically, that the players, they could use their essence, either first their hit die, but then their actual hit points, to subtly rewrite parts of the source books to their advantage or their enemy's disadvantage.
Nice.
And to also like demonstrate it, like they recovered the book, which was a Ravenloft source book, but it turns out what the Kender were doing, they were kidnapping the peasants to use their essence and blood to rewrite the book themselves, and they stumbled across the Vampire Kender entry, and they were basically giving them the ability to roam freely.
Oh,
Robert, you ain't wrong. You ain't
Yeah,
wrong at all.
this is insanely awesome.
I
for
love
a
this.
first
This
time.
is
This
great.
is, I'm in awe here, Mitch.
Yeah. And when the Dungeon Master came across it, he was regrettably, well, I can't use this. This is just ruined, and I can't do it. So he ripped up the pages as like another group of Vampire Kender was going to attack, and they were basically wiped from existence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then after that, like, I didn't want to go right to Sigil, so then I had them do another stop. So basically, then they go through a doorway, and they end up in the ruins of a city-state on the outskirts of the wastes in Athos. And then, since it... Again, so, like, I wanted to give them the illusion of choice. They were, like, the Dungeon Master, since he's traveled here, like, he's made arrangements that the party could basically be the night guard for this caravan that was going to travel them to their next waypoint. Or if not, they could, if they really want to, they could wander around the deserts of Athos without a map or direction. Totally their choice.
That won't end poorly.
Yeah. So they did it. And then this encounter which I had was basically one, there was a lone Barogi on the cliff trying to enchant them with the magic bell to get them out. Easily sing, but then since the ringing of the bell attracted other things, a party of Baraxis come and they attack the caravan.
I love the Baraxis. I think they're super, super cool race.
Yes. And also what I did, since one of the people that had minis had a Baraxis mini, like I put it out, like, you know how sometimes like a DM some of my DMs do this, like they'll go through like the big box of minis and get like out a dragon, put it to the side, like, oh, like preparing to do that.
Yeah, I do that.
But then the fate is like, oh, you never used that, but I had that out the whole time, and then, oh, it actually came in.
Hell yeah.
And then after that, and through it, like, they were only got like a short rest, so they had to make sure to conserve their resources and all that. Then finally they got to Sigil, introduced it, and that's where it kind of ended. My overarching plan would be that the reason the Dungeon Master was looking for his source books was that there was this faction that somehow entered his library and was taking it, and they were upset with how things were progressing, like all the choices, all the variety in it, and they wanted to get back to a simpler way of life. And ultimately, the villains were going to be this group that wanted to go back to White Book First Edition.
So it was grognards.
Oh, jeez.
Your enemies were grognards.
Yeah.
That's
I
off to
love
you.
it.
That's amazing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, so
Seriously.
now, and somebody probably already is doing this, but somebody needs to run a campaign where like a new like set of gods has taken over the universe, and they're just trying to commoditize everything. just metagame the hell out of the actual.
we talked about before, Beard and I and Nate and Warrior, of doing D&D where we were the characters, basically riffing off the Saturday morning cartoon, and the guy who brings them into the D&D world is just a shitty wizard who's drunk, who's like, "Ah, man, I'm sorry about that. No, I can't send you back." Because there is a actual Forgotten Realms-ish canon that Elminster, and I can't remember who the other wizards are, meet in this guy's kitchen in Milwaukee, like every 6 months, like in the middle of the night, and they just have a conversation over drinks. They're just like, they just come and hang out in our world, which is wild to me, in the best way possible. So, you know,
It's
being
like
able to...
the Immortals Club in DC, where every 10 years or whatever, the Shade and the Phantom Stranger and
Gentleman Ghost
Blood and whoever all just get together and have lunch.
Yeah. It's kind of like a better, not a better, but a take on the Masters of Horror dinners a little bit. I would also say, if you're ever interested in going back to some of that, there is I believe it was in 4th edition, and I know I have it because I've used it. There is a Ravenloft domain that is just a road. And it is basically the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and it's just a road that shows up. And there's one tiny, tiny, tiny town on the side of the road that is basically Sleepy Hollow. And the whole thing is the road just keeps moving. And it's a Headless Horseman's your enemy. It's really, really fun, and it's a really neat thing to drop in because it's a domain that can appear in other domains. And then just shuts this area off, and you can't leave the road until you deal with the horsemen. So it's a very interesting little thing that they came up with that I wish they would have kind of put in the newer edition book. But yeah, I love it, Mitch. I love Planescape. And I absolutely love games that explore the entirety of Dungeons & Dragons worlds and stories and tales. The mere fact you went to Athos and used Abraxas makes me extremely happy. So kudos to you.
Yeah. And like another idea, like I might like continue to develop this like when like if I get another group where I'm going. So I would like to keep up with my current group, but they're not big on like the technologies thing. Like we tried it like a few times during like the pandemic, and no one could like, and like half the group really couldn't get like roll 20 down and all that. So we just decided to call that off. Might try it up a bit, but also what I thought was like also not just have like the players do it, but also like the villains have it. Like just like some like asshole like general like doesn't like the how like his or current things sing, so he like rewrites the rules and replaces that with Thaco again.
I love it.
Oh, God.
It's so good. It's so rich. Like that is like,
Well, and
such a
it
wonderful
also-
microcosm of what actually is going on.
And if you want to, pull on it, whether you want to pull those threads in or not, it might make it not fun. But it is a bit of that, MAGA mentality where it's like everything was so much better back when I was young. We got to go back to that. We gotta, if you wanted to take it that route as as a like a political social movement as well, like you've got a group of people saying, no, we need to, make it like it used to be.
There's a running joke on a Garth Marenghi fan page that Colin and I frequent, where people will write fake reviews of his fake books, and it's generally negative. But I mean, it's done like from the perspective of someone who has no idea that these are a joke. And when they write like DVD reviews of Dark Place, it's even better because they're like, "Who does this guy think he is?" Like, and it's just on and on and on about how terrible it is, and that's the beauty of it. It's supposed to be terrible. It's that's kind of that's that same mentality of like someone hating on something that they just don't understand because they don't get the context of it, because it's not theirs. So yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, and it's. Oh, go ahead.
Even like you could utilize kind of a version of the Circle of Eight, which is the like little Greyhawk group of wizards. But it had like Mordenkainen in it, and I can't remember the rest of them, like Bigby and all of them, who eventually all turned on each other, or a bunch of them turned on each other. But utilizing something like that, where it's just a group of like first edition characters who are being maybe manipulated by Gary Gygax, and to being like, they need to go back to the old ways. The OSR is the truth.
Oh yeah. So and then like this is kind of like a joke which the group had. Like just have like a big bag of like mages and like sorcerers and such that are, maybe centered on like where the land meets the sea. Like you could call that a coast.
See, you can take that in so many delicious areas because you could do like, you can even hit on things like flat Earth. And the best part about it is D&D. There's flat Earth.
There's flat Earth.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, duh, yeah, it's flat.
Yeah. That's right. That's just what
I walked off the edge yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what appeals to me about Planescape. It's like the options and all that, and just like the creativity, and that's like also like why I kind of like want to do that. It's like.
Spike got me.
Yeah. It's. I like the creativity that like Dungeons and Dragons can offer, and I like the homebrew stuff, and I'm like never going to like look down on anyone, or like we're in a really good campaign right now, like where someone's running the Waterdeep heist, and it's turning out great, but like for me, like if I run something that's like partially like why I like to come to prep school, I like coming up with like my own ideas for like craziness, and like just letting people do what they want and giving them options. Yes, there is like kind of a path which I would like to go them on for the story beats, but if someone wants to go in another direction, I don't want to like lock them down. That's why, like, even though obviously like I kind of like railroaded them, like Strahd put on like sigils on their necks that would like explode if they like didn't do what he asked for them. To like get them to do that, but it wouldn't be like right away, and like if they wanted to like try to go to something, I had like things planned for that, like not like super in depth, but just like bare bones, and then just like kind of do that. And I think that's what I kind of like. I'm not like a lot of people, like I can't like plan things out point by point, like I'll like get stats and do that and like have like a loose thing and then like kind of reconfigure, since I have like, especially from like the group that I've seen, it's like if you give them options, they're going to take options, and you don't know where they're going to go. So I don't want to like narrow myself down, and I like kind of, that's why like I kind of don't think I would do good with like running like a set adventure, since like when I like hear like a part of an adventure, I'm like, oh, what if this got changed or this, that, and I'm not sure if I would be a really good DM, because I'm like more focused on the ideas and maybe not the execution. because all the sense made sense in my head, but I'm not sure how well that got translated to the group.
I think it sounded like got translated rather well. But I think it's also hard to give yourself credit for that. It's just a difficult thing. I would also look at like, I think for folks who are in the same headspace as you when it comes to that, hex crawls, point crawls, things like that, where it's like, here's a place, here's some places you can go. Tell me where you want to go, and then you can kind of build around that and make like tentative ties between things. But you don't have to feel like you're married to a point-by-point adventure. Like if A always goes to B.
Yeah. I didn't introduce them to. No, that was. I think they created that, the time traveling umbrellas.
And Robert, I also have all that, and I am always tempted to go back to Faster Rip because it's one of the early games I ever played.
Like also like I was kind of inspired. Like I sat in for when Colin did what was it? The Loop game. What was it? Beyond the Loop.
Tales from the
Loop. Yeah.
Tales from the Loop, and like I'm not sure how much you had like planned out, but I really feel like you had like an idea, but then like they threw you swerve and like, okay, I've got to readjust.
Yeah, with that group in particular, I usually come in with like 5 pages of like, okay, this is the outline, and then like half hour, maybe 15 minutes. Let's be reasonable, actually. Like into the game, I have to like toss it all out and like just kind of make everything up on the fly and kind of hope I can get there. And for me, I might be a little more attuned to that because like I used to be like a theater nerd and stuff like that, and did like improv classes and all that, and that kind of helps a little bit.
Used to be? Colin.
Still am a little bit.
It never leaves us, baby.
No, yeah, that's true. But yeah, this is a good discussion of like, you know, like what is a style that you would prefer, and like how to, you know, is it like, do you want to be like, are you natural or comfortable with like just kind of going off and off and off, and how best to service that, or like staying with a rigid thing? As someone who started trying to stay very rigid with stuff, that's so hard for me, especially to keep the players engaged. For me personally, I found games can really drag and get boring when I'm trying to like stick to that script and stuff. But when I really let the players just kind of bloom and become their characters, then the game, I start trying to figure out things that can still kind of stick to what I have in my head, but be more of service to them, what relationships are forming between them, what motivations they're starting to state and stuff like that. So yeah, it can be overwhelming, but I wouldn't have it any other way now, kind of. Yeah,
I think that's the for me the real appeal of you know, like if I wanted to tell a specific story, I'd write a book.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative thing. That's what a role playing game is you're all playing off each other. And Larry Hama talks about when he writes characters that he doesn't know what they're going to do when he starts the story. He takes the characters and puts them in a situation, and then the characters dictate where things go from there. I don't know how much I buy that, but you know, from a writer. But it is an interesting way to approach it, and that's absolutely how, you know, an RPG should work. And that's the most fun I've had. Is, you know, you come up with these characters, and then the DM or whoever gives you ways to, you know, tells you here's a situation. How is my character going to react to that? And it's that collaboration, that build is so amazing.
Yeah.
To go from there. When it hits really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think if you're trying to force people down a certain path, it's like the difference between the original trilogy and the prequels. A little bit, where it's like, I'm going to spend a bunch of time telling you all about all these things and how they work and why this matters, and it's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Just tell me a story, you know? And that, like, the original trilogy is like, yeah, we're in space, there's stuff happening. Here's the story of these characters. We're not
And
gonna,
more of a collaborative effort too, I'd say.
yeah, but yeah, we're not going to spend a bunch of time with exposition or whatever about what's happening and the political machinations and all that stuff. It's like it's there if you care about it, but we're not going to make you sit and watch it. You don't get too up your butt. When everybody can tell when you're more interested in. It's like those freaking 80s black and white boom comics where it's like, here's 2 pages at the beginning of the issue telling you about how we published this thing and why all these Marvel ripoff characters are going to be the most amazing thing, after this one issue that we ever managed to publish. It's like, we don't care. Put us in the pudding, give us something first, and then let us judge from there. You can explain later. Give us some story.
Yeah, I think that's what like frustrated me about that is like I wanted to like have it very collaborative and that, but like to get to that point, like I kind of had to do like that little setup.
Yeah,
and
Oh, you gotta go prepared.
yeah, and I think that's like bogged me down, and I'm like, and it's, like one of the reasons that I kind of like want to like try other things, which is that like I like combat, but I also don't like how much it can sort of like eat up a session, and I would rather like kind of enjoy like more like role playing and doing that off, but I'm not sure how to do that quite yet because like one of my characters like it's just like it's Autognome Genie Warlock, which and like it can like do some combat, but like it has already it's level 4 and it already has plus 10 to persuasion, and it just basically and for like all the social encounters it just goes up. It's in Waterdeep right now and probably already saved a party like 50,000 gold by just haggling down everything and like getting the most for gems and armor and weapons that we sell. And I like kind of like that, and that's also like why like I was also like looking into Tales from the Loop because it like seems more like they're. So I'm not sure if that was just your game or like how it goes.
There's a cool structure with that actually that does allow for a lot of like leeway. They give you a start, and then from there it's all these different branching narratives that you can kind of figure out how to tie together, either with your own like maybe a gentle push this way or just how the group goes, and it's so that game definitely lends to that.
Yeah. And
I mean, I would also point out like anything powered by the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Because then it's super narrative and it's built for the roles. They matter. They have weight, but you can do very interesting things. That first Star Wars miniseries I ran, where John Maddening played Alari Marin, he literally used his diplomacy powers, so to speak, to talk an inquisitor into re-examining their life choices. And it stopped them from killing the players outright and gave them just enough time to murder the inquisitor before it, because the inquisitor was to the point where they were like, well, maybe I have messed up, like maybe I can come back from this, maybe with your help I can make them. And they were like, we all shoot at the same time. And it's, that's, to me, that's beautiful because they literally used diplomacy to get out of what was an unwinnable combat situation. One of them had already lost an arm. They were in a real bad spot, and one of the players who is completely non-combat oriented basically stepped in, and not only did they roll well, but they role played it well. They stepped in and they were like, listen, you could kill us. I mean, obviously. But why? Why are you doing this? Like, do you see all this around you and what it's doing to everyone? I mean, what do you gain out of this? It seems like you're just as much of a slave to this as anyone else. Like, why? What? Asking these, adding the role, the weight and heft of the role to having someone step up and really just give a really awesome role play that you as the facilitator are bouncing off of them and taking into account, like, oh, the role makes that character question those things, and gives them meat on the bone than to chew, and it builds such a wonderful story. I do think like Tales from the Loop and a lot of other less crunchy games can really do that. I mean, even a crunchy game, Call of Cthulhu, I have had so many really wonderful sessions both running and playing Call of Cthulhu, because you get into combat in Call of Cthulhu, you basically already decided you're making a new character.
Yeah.
You basically be like, oh, I look at the monster, well, this guy's fucked. So I think, having the ability then to utilize things like, I have somebody who's playing an Autognome as well in Chaos Scar, and it's the same thing. They're not built for combat. They're built for all this other great stuff, and they're really good at utilizing it. It's such a great character to build off of, that bare bones. So that's awesome to hear that, especially someone who's using it to make such a huge difference on the financial aspect of a group.
Yeah, I was able to get like a carpenter basically cut their price in half. It was just like, oh, if you do this, it's going to be a tavern, and your handiwork will just be so much on display for everyone that comes in, and we can put up a sign that says, done by such and such, and just do that. And it's so I like D&D. Like, it's fun, it's easy to get into, everyone like can do it, but I kind of like, that's also like why I like coming to these and like hearing about that, and just like there's so many other options for like role playing out there, and I really am looking forward to a chance of like experiencing them. And it's like, so I don't want to like my group is great and that, but it's just like they all have a variety of different interests of what they would want to do, and like the one thing that we can all agree on is Dungeons and Dragons. It's like we've tried like a few things of Shadowrun, like some of us had really a lot of fun with it, and other people were like, no, and like before like I done, they like tried other things, like they tried groups. One guy wants to try, I forget what it's called, but it's like kind of like this Mad Max one where you like sort of modify Hot Wheel cars.
Oh yeah.
Deathland.
Yeah.
Deathland is awesome.
Yeah.
It's
That is
really,
fun.
really cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
But like he talks to me about it, and I like go, yeah, we could do this. We could put all this effort in, and yes, I did pay him an exposure.
Hey, I can't say anything. I'm getting a deal on my basement that has something similar going on. Because they're like, hey, we want to use it as a marketing tool.
Like,
so
sure,
we'll give you a deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason all those guys put, sign, landscaping by, Big Bob's tree land.
We have a friend of ours, and she owns her own landscaping company, and she was like, I need a yard to work on. I'll use whatever materials I just have left over. Can I use your yard? And we were like, fuck yeah, you can. And when she was like, well, what do you want? What do you want? And we were like, whatever you want to do, we don't care. Like, just, it's awesome that you're willing to do that. And so about once a year, she'll come in and she'll do something, and she uses it as, fodder for her business. And that's incredible. Yeah, go ahead. At the time, they didn't have a house. They lived in a townhouse, so she couldn't do that with her yard. So our yard was the next closest one.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I want to jump in because I've tried something out teaching that I really want to try out DMing. And so if you have thoughts for this, Mitch, right before you hopped on video, I had mentioned that I am running this Draculich adventure for the Drakeland Falls folks, and we kind of ended mid battle essentially, because there's so much, and they kept like being loud and doing dumb shit, and like that triggered other people coming in. Needless to say, it's been a bit of a shit show. But one of the things that we've tried doing for courses that aren't like 3 credit or 6 credit, like where we have a lot of exposure time during the week, is we've actually recorded like 30-minute lectures and said, rather than reading something or doing homework in between class, watch the lecture outside of class, and then let's use the time together to like workshop. And so like I'm thinking about, rather than us actually finishing combat, or like anytime I'm setting up a big combat, I'm thinking about just saying, when you come back to the next session, we're going to have like a narrative combat, and everybody has to say something that went well during combat and something that like got fucked up during combat, as a means of them having to not only tell the story, so like just we'll roll for initiative when they come back, but then they'll say like either something good or something bad that happens, and we'll just walk through all 8 of those for that. And I'm really interested to see how it'll play out and how we'll like be able to kind of like rectify those things. So if anybody tries something like that, let me know, because I think it'd just be a fascinating way to like basically like cut the combat out, like you said, Mitch. Like I don't want to DM. Honestly, I don't love the sessions where it's just like 2 hours of combat. You know, as fun as like it can be, sometimes it's just like, man, that's just not what I'm in the mood for, or not what they're in the mood for. Even though they, you know, everybody gets hungry for a little combat every once in a while. But yeah, I've been thinking about kind of like how to filter through something like that, so it has to be more narrative, and it's not just kind of like 4th edition brain, like where are the minis? How far am I away from people? But it's like something cool that you did and something like bad that happened to you.
Like I know it's been brought up here before, like kind of just like a microcosm of like the DC challenge. Basically, you roll initiative, and then like everyone like sets up like this like, here's a good point, here's the bad point. Then it's like for the next person figure out how that's resolved. Like, let's say like, I do shatter, and then so the good thing it could be it like knocks down like that whole flight of people. It alerts this one group that did not know that something was happening, and now they're come rushing in.
It's the success with consequence model, which is powered by the apocalypse.
Yeah.
You know, in its nutshell. I think, you know, that's one reason, Beard, I think you love Microscope so much. Yeah. Because it is literally, there's no dice. It is just a conversation, and, you know, someone builds off of your idea and can take it in so many different directions. A Microscope is, and its subsequent, apparently also, Beard, I don't know if I told you this, there is a sequel to Microscope as well.
I own all of Ben Robbins' stuff.
Yeah, Ben Robbins is awesome.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Ben Robbins is, oh God, what is he on the socials? I'll look it up. But yeah, he's fantastic. And I say it all the time, but I can never remember. Lame Mage.
Super Spike is dead on right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's this biggest battle, and it's like, okay, yeah, like, and especially when we were streaming, you know, like we stopped streaming Drakewind Falls, and we're going to have intermittent kind of big streams where it is something that we know a little bit more of the kind of scope or scale of what it is. But I also just got tired of like, you know, getting ready for, you know, kind of a 2-hour session or, you know, a 90-minute session or something, and then just like it just getting eaten up, or, you know, having to cut off when something was interesting going on, or when like the chat was like super into it and we're going back and forth, and it's like so much fun when people, you know, are there, and then you end up, you know, kind of just killing the whole vibe. Yeah.
See, I think there's a good example of an excellent difference between like 2 different styles of running. Beard hates that. I know it drives him nuts because it's just like exhausting. Like, I love that. If I could end every single session on a cliffhanger, I would. I love bouncing. I like divided groups, and I love to jump from one group to the next. It helps like my brain stay elastic, but it's not for everybody. I mean, I think when you're figuring out how you want to run a game and what you want out of that game, you know, again, something that Beard does really well that I'm trying to adapt to is having those conversations early on about what everybody wants out of the experience. I don't do that as well, but like having those conversations of like, what do you guys want out of this? And then that drastically changing the way you run the games. So you're meeting the needs of the players and not just the needs of yourself. I'm too much of a selfish git for that stuff. I'm like, I have a story that I want to get into, and I want to invite you along into my story time. you can get on board if you want, but
Or you can get the
you
fuck
know,
out.
I just have an idea. It literally boils down to I have an idea. I don't know where it's going, but I have an idea.
And
Yeah.
I think I would love to live in that realm of idea. In fact, like I would honestly love if we ended up doing a like one prep school a month where whoever came on, we played Microscope. Like we just kept building out by playing Microscope like a setting, and then maybe like each of us ran one session in that setting for Extra Life in November.
Well, I know you purchased the like realms building
World
kit,
builder, yeah.
world builder.
Yeah.
And you talked about
Yeah.
wanting to come on and utilize that as kind of a think tank group.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because I would just love, like you said, like honestly, like if I could just not ever end on a cliffhanger and just like build a world, like I would no combat. I would probably do that.
but see, that's because you're able to do that, you're better at endings than I am. Because endings for me end up being very hard because I'm always looking for where do I leave strings dangling that I can tug on later if I want to come back to this, rather than sometimes giving actual full endings. Endings are hard. I have a real hard time with them because I don't do that aspect of facilitation and storytelling well.
So you're Chris Claremont.
Boom!
I can't tell whether that's like the best dig on King ever or the best compliment to King ever. It might be.
I think,
Okay,
it
now let's
depends on
do
how,
this.
I think it depends on how many of his fetishes make it into a story.
All of them.
Oh,
And that wasn't an insult. I love Chris Claremont.
No,
Oh, yeah.
but
I just make it a
I agree. I mean, I would love to be a little bit more
Country, a little more rock and roll.
fuck off. I would love to be more Grant Morrison than that. I would love to have that ability to say, here's the story, I'm done with it, and walk on to something else. But I'm just not good at it. I'm always struggling to be better at it. So, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be, and we're constantly, one reason we have these conversations is to get better at what we want to get better at.
Thanks. I will. I'm so excited to
Hey.
improve on my channel.
Yeah, I want to improve her real bad. I'm trying to improve her every day.
Yeah.
You are
Improve
King.
her.
You do a great
I've never
job.
met her. Sorry.
I also think like one thing that Beard really I think instilled upon me and has done a really good job, and we talked about this last week. I mentioned it, but it didn't get on the show because I fucked up real bad. Is we are probably going to go back to doing some commentary for a certain organization.
Up north?
But yeah,
very exciting.
you know, perhaps.
Exciting.
But you know, I would say I'm constantly trying to improve upon those things. It'll take some time to get back into the flow of things, but I'm constantly trying to improve on everything. And every creative endeavor we have, you should not look at anything and think that where you're at right now is the destination. It's just part of the journey. I don't know what that was.
It's me trying to log in and just get good at this.
But one thing is you know what I was getting to is Beard has always done a great job of getting across that you can both continue to be critical and try to be better, but at the same time still try to enjoy what you're doing now rather than just destroy it by hypercritical interaction.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important because I think sometimes like I will look at what I have DM'd or written or created or painted or commentated on, and my reaction is always like, what a steaming pile of shit. And objectively, I know that's not always true. Sometimes it is. But I mean, when we have these conversations on something like this, it makes me so excited and so inspired to hear other people, where other people are at, what they're making. Even when I'm just asking you guys questions when you're in the chat and you guys are giving, like Silverring ended up being so goddamn beautiful on a fundamental level, and it made the characters so happy. It's the same thing with Biggest Night. I do not ever hear the end of that in certain chats with certain people and on Facebook about that, wanting to, hey, can I do this with Nick's Biggest Night? I'm like, I don't know, could you? It's like, I didn't make that. The chat made that, and it's beautiful. So, I think things like this really are a big deal. Self-hypercriticism is rough.
Yeah.
I'm in that boat with all of you, but understand, just by trying and putting yourself out there and running a game for people and facilitating a good time, or even offering to, man, that's beautiful. Like that is such a beautiful thing that you're sharing. And when you recognize that it's not, like Matt said, it's not your story.
Yeah.
It's you're just helping to sit around the proverbial campfire and share that story, to give other people that joy and that tale for them to tell from their own perspective later on. That's so amazing. It's just, there's such a primal beauty to it, that I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate the fact that you share that, but B, that you add to it, just by giving us your ideas and your comments and everything else. It's really something special. I hope that you realize that you're all special.
And you're Chris Claremont. You'll always be like Chris Claremont.
Is it because I think very highly of my own shit?
No, it's just that when you revisit your shit that was amazing in the first go around, we somehow go, you know what? Leave a classic.
Yeah. Was this thing you did 4 years ago actually far more problematic than you probably realized?
Plus all the bondage.
There is an awful lot of bondage in there. Hey, I don't kink shame anybody's dojo, but it's like, Chris, come on, man.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
And then you put him and Vern together in a room, and it gets extra weird.
Yeah. And I unfortunately love some John Byrne, and like I said, unfortunately. I do think there's something to be said for that Super Spike. I used to, and Beard can attest this, I would write reams and reams and reams of prep. I used to do a podcast with Zach where we talked about prepping, and he would make fun of me because I would write a small novel just to prep. And I can't remember, it may have been Mike Shea who Zach sent me the link to. Somebody we both enjoy said, no one gives a shit about your story because the characters aren't in your story. They're in their story. So all this backstory and history and all this, they don't give a fuck about it until it actually connects to them. It's just your shit. So why are you writing it if it has no real effect on it? And Zach went to this prep style where he's like, everything I need for prep, I have to be able to write on a note card, on the front of a note card. And I was like, oh shit, I could never do that. And I remember one time he showed me his note card, and it was like 4 sentences and some words. And I played in that session, and it was awesome. So while I do a little bit more than that with using Mike Shea's lazy prep, it's not much more. And some of it's just so I can remember what I wanted, and a lot of it's more just guidelines. Like, hey, I'd like to do this if I get a chance. But, I mean, like, if I share my screen right now, my prep page is like, I don't know, like 5 pages long. But the first, like, 2.5 are like, here's who these characters are. And it's just me writing down, like, hey, here's the characters. The strong start is like 2 sentences. The scenes that might occur are a paragraph. I've even done my secrets and clues this time. They're just generally sentences. Locations they might visit and NPCs they might meet. That's it. The rest of it's like, hey, they know these people. Here, remember who they are. Here's some monsters they might fight. I mean, I try to keep it as tight as possible because it should be that kind of free form.
Yeah.
Because I don't, like I was talking about earlier, Doris was, I believe, a warrior thing. I think warrior kind of jokingly said something. I immediately was like, well, now Doris talks like a New Jersey Turnpike grandma. So I mean, I think that's where it should come from. And being able to ask those questions too, like when they meet like an NPC that you don't have a preconception for, you asking the players, what do they look like? Who are they? You know, and letting them tell you, because they're far more than invested in that character just by being part of the process.
That's really interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
They can just eat it.
I was just gonna say, like,
eat that card.
What I focus on a lot now, more than big story plot points, is like fleshing out like who are these people that the characters are going to meet. But that is such an interesting counterpoint to all that. What I was going to say is like having the characters, them tell you. That's fantastic. That's really
I think
inspired.
you can give them a motivation. And the one thing I like to do here that I've kind of really glommed onto, and I know I was doing this before, Beard and I would do it occasionally, is who would the actor be who's playing this?
I love doing that.
Yeah.
Because you start to go, oh, okay, I get a picture in my head, or even if it's just a voice, I get like, and I'm bad at voices, but like, I get a voice in my head of like, okay, this guy, the mannerisms or whatever, are kind of like this. But it doesn't mean, you know, that if I ask the players, if I say, well, you've met this person before, like, what did you guys do? Like, again, Powered by the Apocalypse games are perfect for that.
Yeah.
Because there's like, even within the group, when you have the history within the group, you might get a question like, who in the group left you lying? You know, who in the group sold you out?
Yeah.
Who in the group do you admire? Who in the group do you secretly pine for? You know, having those things is really cool. Even like the game Dread, which the randomizer for Dread is a Jenga tower. The making of characters for Dread, one of the questions is, what are the 10 things in your pockets?
Ooh.
So you have to say, what is in my pockets as a character, and it has to be things that could actually fit in your pockets. So you can't say I have a machete in my pocket. It doesn't fit. But you could say I have a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, I have a Swiss Army knife. I have a lighter.
I had a friend who wore Jinkos in high school, and he could have fit a machete in those pockets.
That's true, but
you could fit a friend inside of your Jinko pants too.
Yeah, you're locking your character into wearing Jinkos with all the disadvantages that come with that socially.
But if we're playing like a 1920s Steam engine game, like one time we played a game where we were like, it was basically loosely based on Moby Dick. You don't have Jinko jeans.
But could you have overalls?
You could. Overalls, yep. Because I was playing a cabin boy who was actually a girl pretending to be a boy, and she did have a wrench. Because she had on a tool belt. But being able to ask those questions, and then even like as someone facilitating, being able to say, you know, give someone here is a very, very, very basic idea. I need you to build a motivation off of that. Like for that particular game, Zach gave me a card that said, you have a secret that you have to keep. And it was that I was a girl.
Ooh. And
I wasn't supposed to be on that boat. I was pretending to be a boy. And in that time period, that would have been real bad. You know, giving people like that. There's a game called, I don't know if anyone else has played it besides me. There's a game called Frostgrave, which is a miniature skirmish game. It's fantastic. One of the things that you can get for Frostgrave is a thing called oh gosh, it just ran away from the name of it. It's a deck of cards that everybody draws one at the beginning, and it's called Ulterior Motives deck. And you get this card, and it contains something your wizard and his group want to do that will give them extra victory points. It could be do no harm. So don't kill anybody that another player controls. That is an anathema to you and your morals. It could be steal everything that's not nailed down. It could be, you know, you hate the undead, so anything undead must be killed. You get things for doing that, but you don't show that to other people. That's for you. It could be make an alliance. Like you're trying to make up for some past deed. So you need to try to ally yourself with another player. And I think those things are really cool. And especially in a mini-series game or in a one-shot, giving people that additional motivation in a broad sense really, I think, can help speed things along. I think when you're playing, like, again, D&D, unfortunately, in a lot of ways, doesn't always do a good job with that. But, you know, I would say if you're looking for a D&D-like game that does that, Beyond the Wall. Because Beyond the Wall, you're building your characters together. You're from the same village, and you've known each other since you were kids. And you're literally putting your village on the map. You're all naming a couple people you know in the village. You're building the surrounding area, and you're deciding what you know is true, what you think is true, and what you know is a lie about the area. So it could be like there's a swamp in that. Like I could say there's a swamp less than a mile away. Beard could say, "I hear there's a monster in that swamp," and then Mitch could say, "There's no monster in that swamp." And the fact that you know that and I don't means I think there's a monster in that swamp, and I have to be able to play it like that, you know. So there's a lot of interesting games out there that can do that. Beyond the Wall is a perfect mishmash of 2nd edition and 5th edition. It's really good. I highly recommend it. But you know, there's a lot of interesting games out there. There's a lot of things. Like I just spent some money and bought a source book on Oz and a source book on Neverland, and they should be coming in the mail today. I really want to run a game where we go to Oz. I really, really do. Fair.
You'll never have to. I would always bow out in favor of Mitch.
They are real Mitch. They are thought made manifest. But I think there's a lot out there. Does anyone have any games that they're like, I really want to try this out, or I really want to play, and here's why?
This kind of has to do with what Beard brought up earlier about like sort of like that just like sort of narrative one. I stumbled across it on like a bundle in like on an itch.io sale. I'll put the link in here. It's basically the whole concept. It's 2 words and a picture, and you have to come up with an RPG from that.
Oh,
That's
wow.
beautiful.
Yeah. And it's like, I'll open up the files real quick and I'll share them real quick. And it's just like, I'm not sure how you would do that, but I think part of the fun would be figuring out how to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that.
Ooh, this is interesting.
That's great.
There's a lot of really good like zine games out there. I've been purchasing more of them and putting them in Dropbox, especially in my other games file, the fun folder as I refer to it. Things like Bounty Hunter, things like let me grab a couple ones to remember here since I'm just beating through it. They Stirred, which is interesting. Barry Mary, the Great Lich Bake Off. There's so many interesting things out there. Flotsam, Adrift Among the Stars, Gentlemen Bandits, of course, Kids on Brooms.
Yeah.
There's so many interesting games with like really weird, quirky compared to what we're used to styles. That I really, that's super cool when I read something like that where I see this, read and play, and I'm like, this would be amazing.
Oh, do you mind if I share one which I found?
No, please do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think for me, the big thing on my list is I do really want to get a group together and play or run Hard Times, just because I love that world that we've created. But, I think there's some just, that's the kind of weird niche stuff that it's like, okay, yeah, create a system around like your characters in a horror movie or that kind of thing.
Or on a public access talent show.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Or
right.
and
On the
I
stairway to
think
stardom.
we talked about it briefly, like as a group creating or being in like a B movie, like something like that, or making that real. I don't know, like a metagame, sort of like, I don't know, just that I think I'm most interested in creating like new types of environments, based on the stuff that I love.
Yeah. I really want to, like myself, I really want to jump into that one Weird West game you shared with me. Just
we deal in lead.
Yeah, a full, fresh, new setting and stuff, and something outside the normal box of what you always have with normal sci-fi or fantasy.
Have you checked out the comic book series Six Gun, Colin?
It's on my radar. I haven't got into it.
You should.
Okay.
Just yeah. If you're into that setting or genre, check it out. Yeah, it's very good. Very good.
Heck yeah. Will do.
Oh, were you able to see the one I put up?
Hold on. I'm actually putting. I went ahead and just purchased Read and Play, and I'm putting it in the because
it's like $1.
Yeah. I paid a little bit extra just because.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I want to be able to look at this. I want, for me, when I purchase a game, I want to be able to share it as well. I want to be able to put it in that folder in case someone else comes across it and says, I want to be able to do this. Yeah. This looks.
Stop making it look like they're being caught by.
Oh yeah.
I like this one too. Let's see. Stop sharing. Present. Still getting used to this.
No worries.
The joys of being an on-camera talent, Mitch?
Absolute nightmare. Like,
oh my god, that's incredible! Like, that's really wild.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's like that. It's like narrative, but it's also just like, okay, we have no structure here. We have it's like a prompt, but then it's basically you have to create from whole cloth, pun intended.
It's an improv show, but not annoying.
Yeah.
And I know I talk about the Adventure Zone and constantly, but it's like them coming up with Dadlands.
Yeah.
Dadlands is like they decide to wear fanny packs and they literally have poker chips, one green and one red, and one's for chaos and one's for order. Well, they want to do something, they have to pull a chip, and that's if they go too far one way. And apparently I haven't listened to all of the new Dadlands 2 episode yet, but they jokingly said 10 minutes before the show they were in the back because they wanted to include cornhole as part of the game. So they were talking to Brennan, who was running the game, and they figured out, like, they added the game cornhole to their live show as a randomizer. And I was like, that's insane, but it's very cool.
Nice.
It's kind of like, when us doing Stairway to Stardom is also like, we use Lasers and Feelings because Lasers and Feelings is the most malleable, all you need is one dice, let's go type of game. Like, I love Power by the Apocalypse because I like how much you can do, but still you're only using 2 dice and it's real simple. But doing Hard Times, Matt, like, we realize like there's a lot to come up with.
Yeah.
You can use the skeleton, but putting flesh on them bones can be a little challenging.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's one reason that like we started Kirby, but we've been kind of like slow rolling it a little bit, which is cool. But like I love the idea of even doing a once a month, just calling it something dumb like playtest, where we play weird shit, or we play
Yeah.
games we made up.
Yeah.
We just get people who want to, who wants to play, and then we have kind of a core group, and then we just try it out. Someone volunteers to say, "I will run this." Yeah, let's do this. I mean, I think that's really fun, and it invites itself to play more games that are like, this is a one-shot. This is a one-shot game, because I have a bunch of them. This is a one-shot game. You're supposed to play it in under 3 hours. It shouldn't. You do not. This is not a campaign game.
Right.
There's a game called Low Stakes where no one's running it, but it's basically you're all playing characters on What We Do in the Shadows type of show. You're all shitty supernatural people, and you realize you're on
Low stakes.
Yeah, you realize that you're on a terrible documentary television show. So I love that idea, but I bought the book, but I keep thinking to myself, like, I'm never going to run this because it's going to be hard to find people who want to do that.
No.
Because it is more, an improv exercise than actually,
Yeah.
a game, which is still cool, but finding that is not always easy.
I am a side dish.
Oh, on a related note, that same guy does another game which I really want to try out called Fake Chess.
That sounds amazing.
It's called Fake Chest?
Fake Chess.
Fake chess.
Basically, you set up a chessboard, and then you have a prompt booked, and you each one try to do it, and you pretend to be a chess master, do this, but it's and you get special moves which you can use once, and I do the Rishimbo Gambit or something. And then you can have more people that are dedicated audience members just go, oh, and odd.
I would say, when especially games like that, another great one that I really liked, we used to play all the time, we were playing pretty religiously for a while, is Worldwide Wrestling.
Yeah.
Because then everyone else who's not involved in the match is actually making things move along. They're voting and they're cheering, and they're doing. Sometimes they can do commentary. No one's running the game. It's Beard and I decide we're gonna have a match. Here's how we set the match up, and then when we're doing the match, we're actually doing a lot of give and take, because I don't want to win the match. I want us to have the best match. So there's a lot of kind of I love that that game especially is this really weird collaborative effort, because we've also played it where it has not been collaborative and then it goes tits up real quick.
Well, to be fair, some of those were due to certain players.
No, it was totally due to certain players. That's what killed that game for us, was a certain person. But I mean, I had no problem saying that. I said it as much to that person. But I think that when you have the right people, those games can be magic.
Yep.
I think as well, when you have people even playing something as simple as D&D, and they decide that they don't need to be the main player, and they can give people the spotlight, it's great. I'm really lucky right now. I don't have any main player syndrome players. I'll occasionally have people that will start to fall in that trope, especially in Chaos Scar, where it's a lot of everyone needs to get their shit in, but they'll pull back. They'll notice it and they go, oh,
Yeah.
nope. So I'd love to do something like that. I think it's a really interesting idea to be able to get other games out there and hopefully get other people to play.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I also stumbled upon this one, which I put in the chat. Brindlewood Bay. It's Call of Cthulhu meets Murder, She Wrote.
I backed that on Kickstarter. It's amazing.
Amazing.
The theme is incredible. It's just so cool.
Yeah. It's and again, sorry to like just like harp on like what I really like about like all your guys' streams is like I got into like role playing probably only about like 3-4 years ago, and before that, like all I really knew was like that it was like D&D. I like might have looked up other stuff and none like known about them, but like when I thought of role playing, I just thought of like D&D and just like being around you guys, like seeing what you do, and just like all the Powered by the Apocalypse stuff, all this prep school stuff. It's just like, oh, there's so much more stuff out there, and some of it is really cool, and like, and I think it's like I have a belief there's a comic for everyone, and I also believe that there's like a role playing game for everyone, and I kind of like that we're kind of like entering into this new age of just like, oh, this isn't just like just for like guys in like their 20s and 30s and 40s that just hang out in like dimly lit game stores for like 10 hours at a time. That still happens.
Yeah,
but
I
I'm also
evidence to the contrary.
Yeah. But also like I'll give credit to like 5th edition. Like it's really opened up like it to so many other people, and just like how like sort of like into like the last 10 years for like non-superhero comics has kind of like opened it up for that. It's like we're getting more voices, we're getting more diverse voices, and that can only do more better things for like the entire hobby and interest.
Yeah, I think, and I've talked about this before, like we've talked about it on prep school before. I wish I was better at being trying to find, I say this all the time, trying to find more diverse voices. And you know, Beard and I have always talked about like we want this to be a channel and with the tools where we can have people with more diverse voices and more stories to tell from a different perspective, being able to utilize it. I'm not always good at that. I think I said this like when Shannon was on last time, we were talking about inclusivity and diversity, and I said, you know, I can remember a time when my friend group was wildly diverse, but as I've gotten older, I and it's not by choice, it's just by what it is. Especially during pandemic, it's become far more homogenized to like, these are the things I like, and if I get to know somebody who likes these things, then I'm like, I hoard them into my group. But if I don't get to meet people, because I also, with anxiety and everything else, I kind of stay, I generally, like, if I meet you and you're like, I like this thing that you like, I'll be like, oh my God, you know, I'll hoard you like gold. But if I don't, like, if you're talking about, like, I'll use sports as an example. If I meet you and you're talking about sports, I don't really care about sports anymore. I will be like, okay, and I'll just mosey right along. And I'll miss opportunities to talk to somebody who might love like Harlan Ellison books because it's not what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't put myself out there anymore, which is sad because there's so many cool people that we could be doing cool stuff with. But it's awfully hard to want to take a step out of your insular bubble to do that. And that's completely my own fault. But I do think with Wizards pissing opportunity down their leg, they have unwittingly done the entire community a service.
Yeah.
Because it has inspired people who I think were happy living in a bubble of just continuing to use the OGL as the spine of their games to instead say, I want to do something different. Like I sent it to everybody in our D&D group on Facebook, Matt Colville's announcement that MCDM was going to do their own game. One of the things he said that resonated so much is he's like, I love D&D, and I'm not telling you not to love D&D. And if you're someone who says, well, Uncle Matt's making a game, but I love D&D, he's like, I still love D&D, and I'm still going to do D&D stuff. But I don't want to continue to also just play a game that is built off the backbone of 50 years of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Why, you know, he what did he say? He's like, something to the effect of like, why does D&D have all these things still in the player's handbook? Who gives a shit about a 10-foot pole anymore? Nobody does, because we don't play D&D the same way we did even 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When's the last time a modern group of newer players is like, oh, I need to make sure I have a 10-foot pole in my adventurers pack so I can check the floor and the ceiling for traps. No one does that anymore, because dungeons, we don't even ask anymore. Like, no one does mega dungeons because it's not something that people enjoy right now.
Yeah.
He's like, there's a hardcore group of players where that's the backbone of their games. That's not the primary focus of games anymore. And he's like, also, I feel like D&D is a game that fits. It tries to meet, because it's a shareholder game, it wants to be all things to everyone, so it can appeal to the largest mass to make money. He's like, we're making a game that's high fantasy.
Mhm.
It won't be a horror game. It won't be a dark fantasy game. It's not going to be those things. We may make a game doing that, but this is not that game. Like D&D, when it does horror, it doesn't do horror well. There's so many other games that do horror well, which I don't totally agree with him. But he's like, you can hammer and nail those things onto your structure, but they're just hammered on. It doesn't fit. He's like, when you have games like Call of Cthulhu, where that's what it does, that's why people love it for horror. And I was like, this is so well said without shitting on D&D. It's just saying we have an opportunity to do something different. And hopefully there's space for it in the market.
Oh, it's like a McFlurry. A McFlurry is essentially just vanilla ice cream mixing with other things. But it doesn't take the place of, let's say, if you have an Oreo McFlurry, it doesn't take the place of an Oreo.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I could title these episodes afterwards, because I would call it the Oreo McFlurry thing. I want, and a game that I want to play is, that I've always wanted to play, and I can remember playing one session of, that hopefully someone out there will say, I really want to run that. It's Paranoia.
What's Paranoia?
Yeah.
Paranoia
Besides
is a
what I
game
have.
where you live in a totalitarian utopia state, and you're given these 10 simple laws, and it's things like don't trust the muties, and the next law is everyone's a dirty mutie, and you don't get one character, you get 10 clones of yourself. And the secret you're keeping from everyone is you're all going against the Big Brother state, even though you're all working for the Big Brother state. It's this very like tongue-in-cheek, like it's kind of got a lot of like Terry Gilliam's Brazil to it, like baked into the DNA of it. And like you have the different clearance code colors for what you can know and what you can't know. I know they're making a video game of it for Steam that looks very interesting. But like I would adore to play that. I don't have any interest in running it. Kind of like Traveler. I have no interest in running Traveler. Man, I'd love to play Traveler. A game where you can die in character creation. Yes, please. I would love to try it out.
Wait. How'd you die in character creation?
Because it's just tables. You're rolling on a lot of tables.
Oh, so there's like, that is. That just seems like a game in of itself.
Yeah, Traveler is wild. You can literally die. Like, character creation in itself is a story, which is kind of, I think Microscope has a lot of shared DNA with like early Traveler. And that's the thing. There's a lot of variations on Traveler. I think there's like 5 or 6 editions of it, and there's a Powered by the Apocalypse version and all that. I want to play the old school version of Traveler, where it's like first session is making characters, because it's a lot of like rolling shit up, and it's telling you like your story and what you're doing. And Traveler's kind of a more hard sci-fi type of game. It's not a grimdark. It's not a space opera. It's kind of like slightly more mundane than that, but it's high risk all the time. So yeah, it's a game that's I've never got a chance to play, but it has always, the stories I've heard people tell about playing Traveler make me want to play it.
Yeah.
Looks sweet.
Well, my friends, I have to jump off. I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm excited to jump into some of these. And Mitch, I hope you will join us for future shenanigans.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
will definitely consider it. Oh, before you go,
Yes.
want to say this in person? Congratulations!
Hey, thank you so much. We did it.
Yay!
Celebration. Yes,
Oh,
Colin's
awesome.
children approve as well. Yes.
Yay!
Huzzah.
James, did you paint that?
Did you?
Dragon Ball?
No, dude, you painted both of those.
I do not remember. I don't remember painting that Dragonborn at all.
Which? Oh, wait, the Dragonborn?
Yeah,
Did
you
I
posted
miss one?
pictures of it.
Oh, I thought. Did I miss that? Hold on. Sorry.
Beard sent me a memory from like, what, 4 years ago or something like that? Maybe longer?
Like 6 years ago.
Oh, geez. Yeah, 2018 where we were painting.
Yeah. I probably did. That's probably white scale from the game that I played with the. Oh my gosh, tons of people. I think that is.
Yeah, because those are your pictures, not mine.
Yeah, you did the flame beast and the lizard.
Yeah, which aren't even finished. I actually those flaming cats. I ended up painting their skin black rather than yellow. They turned out real cool.
It's funny. Like I'm not seeing the. Where's the?
A giant lizard boy though. Yeah, he turned out really well.
Oh yeah, that's white scale. That was an old Dragonborn that I had.
Yeah, if you ever want to see these pictures,
yeah, we have so
you can
many.
friend me on the Book of Face, or I don't know. They might be on my Instagram. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the ones in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yes, Beard. I know that we've had many talk about this, but
yeah,
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
And your continued journey with no longer walking that lonely road.
No, and I'm referring to it as a voyage because
voyage.
I'm seaworthy. You know?
Yeah, well, you do when you wear that the cable knit sweaters. You do look like a sea captain.
Oh, this is just a basic ass shirt and then an infinity scarf because my neck was cold because I totally clocked myself. Like I was reaching down to grab something and I went upstairs and I was like, oh, I need to pick up this thing. And my house is built in 1937, and I just turned around like right into the wall coming out like the drop ceiling and just smashed myself in the face like hard enough that I was like, do I have a concussion? Did I give myself a concussion smashing my own head into the wall? It was really great.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah.
You should sleep on it.
Yeah. No, we're not.
You look like a fashionable lighthouse guy today.
Yeah. Well, I can put it. Hold on. I'll put on my lighthouse hat too.
Fashionable boy.
Here. This is my lighthouse fit.
Yeah.
You need your corncob pipe though.
I got that around here somewhere. Next time.
Next time.
Anyway,
Yeah, we make a game called Tales from the Lighthouse.
I will.
As long as I get to be Willem Dafoe from The Lighthouse, I play that.
That's a fucked up movie.
I love that movie so much.
I have yet to watch it. It's one of those movies I keep putting off.
Oh, please watch it immediately.
Yeah,
It works as a drama, a horror, and a comedy.
I really want to, but it's like I'm very much like, what if I don't like it? It kind of falls under the same boat as Midsummer. Like Zach loaned me Midsummer for a year, and I still haven't watched it because I'm like, what if I hate it?
Then you hate it.
I don't. Yeah, and if
I
you
don't
don't,
have to like everything.
The idea of it so much, I don't want to hate it.
well,
I have a weird thing with certain movies like that where I'm like, I don't want this to be ruined. I love the idea too much for it to be ruined.
Yeah.
Because I'm a weirdo.
I just remembered The Lighthouse. It was the second to last movie I saw before the pandemic hit. The last one, what?
Yeah, what was the last one?
1917.
Ah, hey.
I don't remember the last movie I saw in a theater. Which is
before the pandemic, it was I think Rise of Skywalker.
Still haven't seen that.
Still haven't seen it either.
It's a movie.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to see it.
A lot of stuff
It's a
happens.
movie.
It's definitely a movie that exists.
Mhm. That's why I don't have an interest in it.
See, I'm not a big Star Wars person, so I really don't. It's like I was born like late '80s, so basically for most of my like formative things, Star Wars really was no longer really a thing. So it came back when the special editions came back, and I sort of got into that, but not really. So I don't have like a deep attachment like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I kind of like The Last Jedi.
I actually loved The Last Jedi.
Was that the second one of the sequels?
The
Yes.
sequels.
Yeah, that was the best of them for sure.
Because they were trying something different. They were like trying.
Yeah.
It was just like,
I appreciated that.
sorry to go on this tangent. I feel like it was basically a reaction to The Force Awakens of just like, no, we can't just keep repeating like the same patterns, because those same patterns is how we got here. Was kind of a meta narrative on like the state of like the Star Wars franchise. It's like we keep trying to repeat the same beats over and over again, and that's just going to lead to the downfall. And that's like the whole Luke, instead of trying something new, was trying to recreate the Jedi Order, which led to its own downfall in the first place.
I think it was also falls into that category with Rogue One, where the first time I saw them, I was like, do I like this? And then the second time I watched both of those movies, I was like, I really like this, because it is kind of Star Wars saying, let's do something different. Which I think is also led into what they're doing with their Disney shit. And
Their Disney stuff's good.
yeah, I'm like, this is what I want. I want Star Wars to not be about the Skywalkers.
And I
want it
also
to be
like
about everything else going on.
more of the kind of gray shades that those movies played around with a lot more. Like,
Yeah.
Rogue One felt so like, this is a war movie in Star Wars for the first time. I was like, whoa, okay, I'm on board.
And then it's a
for it.
Friday the 13th movie for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it really is. And I just love the hard turn they took with Last Jedi, and I'm obsessed with characters that like go through like the worst and like find some kind of way to redeem themselves, and like just go through so like Luke having all that happen to him, like the biggest moral defeat he could, and like it destroying him, and then slowly coming back and also doing some like kind of crazy like kind of non-violence, like beats the bad guys in the end, just on meditating out. That I was like, I'm on board for all of this. Like, thank you so much. Like,
It was like an anti Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan did this very dutiful thing and went out and sat and watched Luke for forever. And it's kind of that Sam Witwer talks about the Maul Obi-Wan fight in Rebels, and how it's it's short because they're both so dangerous. It only takes one mistake, and Obi-Wan tricks him. And then when he realizes, like, why were you hiding out here like a rat? And then he realizes, oh shit, you're doing something very, very important. You're not hiding, you're protecting, and you're protecting something that actually has value.
Yeah.
And he realizes, like, it's that moment of realization. That's why he says, avenge us both.
Yeah.
It's because he realizes, you're doing that. And Luke instead fucks up and just shits off to a planet where he drinks milk. Because he fucks up.
He does.
It's interesting to like see how two characters handle defeat so differently, in an awesome way.
Yeah.
Also, I stand by this. Solo's a good movie. It's a bad Han Solo movie.
I like Solo.
I haven't revisited it. I need to go back to it and see how I feel about it on a second watch.
The problem is basically the entire story is about how it explains all these things about Han Solo, but retroactively makes the Han Solo character very sad, because all the things he brags about happened like within a week.
Yeah.
He's a Glory Days high school guy.
Yeah.
Yes, he's the guy that peaked in high
God
school.
damn it! He just needs a Letterman's jacket.
He kinda does with that vest.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I agree. I really enjoy Solo. Solo's like a fun movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really fun adventure.
I actually wish it was more about Lando, because holy shit, and I really, really loved Woody Harrelson's character. in
Yes, yeah,
I
yeah.
think Solo did a lot of 4 touchdowns at Pokemon. Yeah, I enjoy that movie. It's another weird one. Where the first time I watched it, I was like, "Is this good?" And then I watched
Yeah.
it again. I was like, "Yeah, I enjoy this." But I do agree. It kind of takes a little bit of the piss and vinegar out of Han Solo, which I
Mhm.
don't mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I never thought about that idea that it's just
It's
all
the
this cool
greatest
shit
week of his
happened like
life.
one. He basically is Ferris Bueller for like a week. Oh jeez.
Although, you know what? I bet Ferris Bueller, if we ever caught up with him, he'd be like, "This one day, let me tell you what I got up to."
Yeah.
Like, just talks about it all.
No, Ferris Bueller right now, he would be into crypto.
Oh, that just
True,
broke
it's
my
sad.
heart.
Am I
it
wrong?
hurts.
Oh,
It burns.
Am I wrong, though?
No, you're not wrong at all. That's why it hurts
no.
so bad.
oh no. Oh,
Brutal truth. Brutal truth.
I ruin childhoods. It's what I do.
Hey, it's fair. It's fair.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it as well.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else that they've got going on? Anything when they want to steer people towards? Because I think we've been going at it for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, oh, why Mitch? Why? That's a shirt I also want. Is just Mitch's avatar with the "Why Mitch Why" underneath it.
I've been very clear. I'm not a good person. That's the first thing I say in every chat.
See, I always when people say that, I used to very much be, because I will say that occasionally, because I'm not always the best person. But I met someone who said that very often. Actually, I met 2 people who said that very often, and they were the first 2 people to show that they were not good people as time went along.
Mm.
So I've been a little bit more like, not touchy about it, but like,
Reserved, was it?
yeah. When someone when someone tells you they're an asshole repetitively, and then
At some point, you should probably take them at their word.
yeah, especially when they eventually show you they are,
Yeah.
and they fuck you by being an asshole. So, or when someone tells you how a bunch of different stuff that is also directly attributed to your relationship with them, and then they show that they are that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, you feel like you're the frog with the scorpion on your back,
Yeah.
and it's their out. It's their out because they told you the whole time, and
Yeah.
no matter how, whatever you showed them, that's their shield to be like, I fucking told you the whole time I'm a piece of shit, and then when they show you they are, you just kind of go, fuck me.
Yeah.
Fuck me for trying. So
Yeah. This has been foreshadowed since the first act. Well,
yeah, it really has. It's the
I
Chekhov's
didn't pick
gun
it
of being an asshole. So I have tried to not now say that, because I don't intentionally try to be a terrible person. I have the capability of it though.
As do all of us, and that's like why I say it. Like, I realize that's a part of me, but I'm open and honest about it. I'm gonna try not to be, but it might slip out.
A local guy that would come on our wrestling show all the time, who's, I shouldn't say even local, back in the day Ryan wrestled all over the place. Ryan Cruz would say something all the time that I actually agree with quite a bit, which was something that for a while Beard and I were also using as a mantra. What he just would say, be better.
Yes.
You have to be great. You have to be good. Just be better.
Yeah.
Just don't be satisfied with like how you treat somebody or how you're treated or whatever it is. Just take a moment and say, I want to be better.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, it was always something I was like, you should make that into a fucking t-shirt. That's really, I mean, it's a really well said, simplistic, kind of thing, mantra. Just be better.
It's like, again, not to get on like the too personal thing, but it's kind of like what I've been doing, like with like all like you guys and such. Like when I like started doing the stuff for Dave, like I could not imagine myself being on camera. Like, not sure if any of you like remember like the first stream. Like I like popped on like in the middle of it, like with dark sunglasses and like half my face hidden by the camera, and it's just like, you don't have to be better right away Just take small steps.
Absolutely.
And one of the beautiful things I would say is like about Tiny Ming spinning into Dave's entire channel and Patreon, and then
Yeah.
us doing more stuff that then has people that come over from Super Spike, yourself, Shaggy, people who Ben Shapiro or Neb Shapiro, not Ben Shapiro.
No, wait, what?
But other people who pop in, who come from that channel, is there's such a nice like synergy of supportive people that are interested in each other and interested in what you're doing, what you're working on, but are more just interested in that you're doing okay. It's a beautiful group of people that I think are doing a wonderful job of cheering each other on. Because holy shit, there's so much of like people, taking time out of their day to tell you that they hope you fail.
Yeah.
I will say, I used to post all my mod stuff on 2 boards on Facebook. I stopped just because I had one person who shit all over me every chance they got. Other people were saying, like, if you don't like it, you don't have to go into a diatribe about it. Like, and I just told the guy who ran the boards, is like, I can't be on here anymore. Because I know it's just one person, but man, it feels like crap to like post a picture of something you worked on and have somebody just go, "This fucking sucks," and you should feel bad.
Yeah. See, and that's not even helpful. Like, what's the point of that? And like, there's a lot of stuff that people, there's a lot of customs that people, put out there, and I'll say, I don't like this. This isn't my jam. But I'm not gonna comment on it to tell them that. It's like, you put a lot of work into this, you love it or whatever. Now, if there's something I see where I can, especially, I feel like I've got to have some kind of a relationship with that person, to be able to say, like, hey, this is great. Here's a thing that, I think could make it better, or if I was doing this, here's what I would do. But I usually don't even do that anymore, because it's just like, I've had people give that to me too, and my whole deal is like, that's nice. I'm glad you, and there have been times where people have said like, oh, I think this would look better if you did this, and I say, yeah, I think you're right, and then I do it, and I'm like, oh, that is way better. And there's
you guys did that. You guys did that earlier late this week with the face on this dude.
Yeah, and
I was like, fuck, I love the idea. I'm just not capable of doing that.
Well, then there's times where people will say, hey, if you did this way, I think it would be better, and I'd say, no, I disagree with you. I like it the way it is. Thanks for your input. Well. But I also, I'm not active enough in any of these communities now to feel like anybody gives a shit what I have to say anyway. So I'm just kind of like, but I don't expect anybody to like what I do. I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
But if all you've got to give me is negativity, and not even constructive negativity, fuck off. Like, I don't need that, Now, if I do something and it's genuinely like harmful, let me know.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be silent for that. But if it's like, I don't like this because I had to teach myself that through, years, of why is Hasbro doing this? Why is Marvel doing this? Why? It's like, because they're making things for the audience that they're making it for. Mm-hmm. And it might not be me this time, and that's okay. Not everything needs to be for me.
Yeah, that's a big lesson to learn.
And
that's
also
the best thing you can learn.
And also to learn that, hey, maybe the thing that I thought wasn't for me, I actually really like. It took me a while. Like, I saw like the previews or whatever for Batman: Brave and the Bold, and I'm like, this isn't my jam. And then after
it is solid.
Really good. And I watched it. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like,
this is for me. I just didn't know it.
Right. Or it's for a part of me that I wasn't willing to, indulge.
That's why I really love when we exchange books and movies and music and all that, because sometimes I am given the opportunity to then stumble across something that I didn't know I needed in my life. But then I'm like, oh my God, how did I not know about this? This is tremendous. Like, I need more of this. So yeah, I think that's awesome. Again, I would love to do a thing where we just we the Great Exchange or whatever. Like we meet once a month, and we talk about kind of like we do with Spoopy Boys.
I was just thinking we
But
could
where we're
easily
like-
roll
Or we're
Spoopy
like,
Boys into
hey,
that.
we all read this or we all watched this. You should try it. And if you have suggestions on something we should read, watch, or listen to, I used to do a music podcast with some friends, where we would rotate and all pick an album once a month, and we would listen to the whole album, and then we would come on and talk about it, and it was great. It's just one of the guys couldn't show up all the time, and every episode was 3 fucking hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of time for me to record and edit.
Yeah.
And I did not edit much. So, but it was super, super fun. Like, it was always fun to do. Is to share that. We would go through each track and talk about each track. And by doing that, we also would go, oh, now I need to have you listen to this. Because it would inspire you. You've never heard of this, so you definitely need to listen to this.
Real quick.
And it's so fun to do that. It turns into what most conversations I truly feel with people who are friends but haven't been friends for the eternity of their lifespan ends up being like someone says something and then you go, what is that? And they go, you've never seen this? I was quoting a movie because we're guys and we end up doing that a lot for some reason. It's somehow I think part of I shouldn't even say guys. I think it's part of
It's like a cultural shorthand. Yeah.
Gen X on culture, because I know plenty of non-binary and plenty of female folks who do the exact same thing, and they look at me, how did you not know about this shit? Or video games or whatever it may be. I'm probably just casting a narrow net with film, but that's so cool. Again, it's kind of a cultural exchange. It's just like, I didn't grow up here, so someone might say something about, we had this local thing, Mystery Science Theater. I was just lucky because it came on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
If not, I never would have known about it, and it would have been something I would have had to learn when I moved up here. There's all sorts of things that we can all benefit from exchanging these cool ideas, whether we like them or not. What's the kaiju prison thing you had me read, Matt?
Kaiju Max?
Kaiju Max. I was like, I enjoy part of it, but some of it I'm like, oh god, I do not.
Oh yeah.
So it's
there's parts of that are tough to.
Very Oz-like.
Yeah.
But that's the point.
Wait,
I
what?
Would be very much.
What you're thinking? Yes.
Yeah.
Kaiju. Okay, what's this called? Because I love Oz.
Kaiju Max.
I would say it's not something I'd want to read again, but I enjoyed it, and I was happy I got a chance to read it.
Yeah, it's all of the the kaiju stuff. It's Super Sentai. It's
hardcore prison drama.
Yeah.
There's Pokemon. There's cryptids. It's like the whole monster sort of thing. All kind of if all this stuff was existing in our universe at the same time, and also Monster Island was Max Prison.
It's really interesting, and the art style throws you off for what you're about to witness.
Yes.
There's a very cutesy art style, and then you're going to see some very horrific things happen.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And it treats and there's moments that are hilarious, and there's moments that are heartbreaking, and there's a bit where some of the monsters in Kaiju Max are doing a version of Hamilton about kaiju. And it's wonderful. And yeah, it's really cool.
I never would have got the opportunity to read that if Matt hadn't been like, how have you not heard of this? Because it just wasn't in my peripheral.
Well,
so,
and
that's an exchange of cool shit.
Well, just now.
That creator
I had no idea.
Xander Cannon lives in the Twin Cities.
Oh, really?
Matt is saying you have to watch 30 Coins. And I've yet to watch it.
You do
But
have
it's one of those things where I need to sit down and watch it. Just like I'm constantly everyone should watch the 3 Yokai War movies from the 70s that Toho put out because they're fucking bonkers. They're super fun. and they're on YouTube. They're wild and fun.
Well, the other day we were talking about, I think, Hokkaido.
Yeah.
Oh,
I went and found that the other day, and I would not probably have sought that out unless you had talked about it, and that was awesome.
Full Metal Violator Hokkaido.
It was.
I'll be right back real quick. I have something you'll like, King.
Oh, hell yeah. But like, there's weird stuff out there that I think us all, the folks that we talk to, the chat, everybody would benefit maybe from that kind of cultural exchange once a month of being able to kind of share those things. Because Kyle Starks is another one. I just knew Kyle Starks through the Hard Time Criterion, but Matt has been like, let me espouse the Kyle Starks gospel.
Yeah, I've got another stack of books of his that I forgot that I hadn't given you. And I have to get back my copy of Rock Candy Mountain or rebuy it.
I literally put all of his books on my wish list on Amazon.
But the 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, I've got to get to you.
Oh, son of a gun! That's amazing. See, like, there's a good example. I really like Kamen Rider, but I don't know Kamen Rider like Mitch does. Mitch is like, your Kamen Rider knowledge is amazing.
As the extra, it has the other brain in there. The brains can actually be swapped out. One is like kind of light piped, and it is partially die cast.
Incredible. And I love that design. I think that I like the old school Hokkaido design as well, like the black and yellow one. But the one from the movie is just fucking menacing.
Yeah, I forget the name of the guy that designed it, but are you familiar with Garo?
No.
Garo is an independent tokusatsu outside of like the major houses like Tsuburaya, Toei, and Toho, and it's basically the series of basically these demon hunters throughout histories, and then they get magical like beast armor. And then it's just really good fights, and I'll try to find something for you real quick.
Yeah, I have a season or two of that. It's really good.
It's might be on like, I think I'll have to look. I'll look into it.
I looked at it. I immediately got to think of Garo, the best tokusatsu game we never got.
Yeah. Some of it might be streaming on like some of like the Shout Factory stuff. I'll have to double check for you.
I bought mine on Microsoft.
Yeah, there's another thing I absolutely love that I can't remember who told me about it, but Tokusatsu on YouTube, their channel, I can go back and watch the old Kamen Rider stuff, and it's so good.
That might have been me.
I think it might have been, yeah. But I'm just like, those ability to exchange those ideas in a community like this is just, it's beautiful, and I am very thankful for it. Everybody in the chat, everybody who watches this later, everybody who just peeks in, and especially everyone who comes on and adds to this conglomeration of beautiful nerdery and fellowship.
Heck yeah.
And Hokkaido.
Hokkaido.
He can take out his mechanical heart.
Oh.
Also, whoever named that movie Full Metal Violator Hokkaido deserves a kiss on the mouth. That is such a great name for that movie. And that movie's just so much fun. Mm-hmm. It's like such a heavy concept that's turned into this wild ass, especially the ending when he's like, I'm going to shoot a gun, 2 blocks into this building through everything that blows up the central processing.
Now, the 90s direct-to-video Toei movies are weird beasts.
I like all that weird shit.
There's one from the late 80s, which you might like. I think there's a copy up on YouTube. Lady Battle Cop.
That's Kyle Stark shit right there.
It is basically like, what if Toei did RoboCop?
Okay.
I like that.
Is that the one that stars
Cutie Suzuki?
Yeah, Cutie Suzuki.
I'm glad it was that.
Did Horror Geek just cover this?
Yeah, Horror Geek covered that. I don't know if it was the same movie, but
yeah. I think this might be on my radar actually.
Let's see.
She did a couple flicks in that time span. which is wild that she took her pro wrestling fame and then just weird genre movies.
The actor was Azuya Nakamura.
She would have been the star.
Yeah. Let's go to IMDb.
How about movies? I can never remember. That's another one I would highly. Colin and I both are big fans of. The Horror Geek puts out a movie review every Wednesday, and I always think they're fun.
Mhm.
But I like real bad, gory flicks. So
Yeah.
Yeah. We should probably do a tokusatsu chat at some point.
I would love that. I wish my
I need to watch
tokusatsu was.
more of it.
Yeah, I wish it was more. It was going to be as knowledgeable as yours is, but I do love it. There's just so much of it.
I've unfortunately haven't been able to watch a lot of it because up until recently a lot of it hasn't been available. So just for years I searched for just so much obscure stuff just to beef up my knowledge because it's wonderful stuff and it's just wild and
it's really neat too to see. I mean, we talk about this with horror all the time, but Super Sentai and Tokusatsu stuff is a very interesting lens into the superhero genre from a completely different cultural standpoint, and it's wonderful.
Also, it's just this most amazing it's this fantastic commercial enterprise which I am both abhorred by and respect. It's been going basically nonstop since 1979. Every year, new product put on shelves every quarter, nonstop. The show has been in continual production except for COVID, and that was only for 4 weeks. And the entire franchise has been just going nonstop. Design, filming, production, distribution. It's
impressive.
It's a fantastic thing, and the design company behind it, Plex, is my favorite toy company. I can talk about them for length. They are just fantastic, and
That's incredible.
and the thing is, they have no official presence. They never talk about themselves. The few people that been to their office, they have a case of the Sentai Robos up front. Other than that, it's a normal Japanese office building.
That's so wild, when you see things like that. Again, we talked about this maybe last weekend or a couple of weekends ago, that In Search of Steve Ditko documentary, where Neil Gaiman tracks down Steve Ditko, and it's works in an office, and when they leave the office, they leave with a stack of comics that he's just oh, you guys should read these. And it's some of that shit was old and worth money, and he was just oh, here you go, thanks for coming by, but no cameras. I will not speak on camera.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of that interesting dynamic of someone who, and again, Steve Ditko's its own thing altogether.
Steve Ditko's
he's an interesting guy. It's someone who doesn't want to be involved in the front-facing portion of their small corner of fame.
No,
that sounds like Plex too. It's just kind of this. We do this thing, but we don't need to advertise it because
it's our job.
Yeah, the work speaks for itself.
Yeah.
That's, to me, is so interesting. It's such a very anathema viewpoint to what most modern sales-driven art, I should say it's art-driven by sales tactics are, where it's let me show you everything.
Yeah.
Even again, I love MCDM and what they're doing, but I also thought it was interesting that they were join our Patreon and you can literally watch how the sausage is getting made. You want to see how a game is developed? You join the Patreon and we will literally show you every single day what we're working on and how we're working on it. Some of it will be live streamed. So if you want to sit in the room with us while we bounce ideas, you can. Because we want you to know. Because if you've run games for any length of time, you don't realize it, but you also are a designer.
Yeah.
It may not be your job title, but you're doing it. But he was like, also understand that you will get some feelings. You'll catch feelings with this because you might hear us talk about something and you go, oh my God, that's incredible. Yes, do that. And then we might go, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And that might suck for you. But the thing is, you also might just be able to steal that and use it for your own. And that's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's fucking genius. But it also is marketing. You're literally you're collecting money and marketing yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
Through Patreon. And that's really, really, really interesting. Which is really nothing more than what we're doing on Tuesdays. More so Dave because it's a business for him, but
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's and again, a company like Plex or someone like Steve Ditko, that is again like that's the farthest other end of things. Of like I do all my stuff in secret in a lab, protected by mechanical diamond dogs. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, what's everybody else got going on this week? We're at almost 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I've got a cinnamon roll calling my name and two blades. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with that.
Yeah, I'm just Tuesday for me, and then back here next Sunday. You know where to find me.
Yeah. Should be haunting this place next Sunday. I don't know if we got a Spooky Boys coming up.
So we didn't do one for February.
Yeah, we missed February.
Short, but I don't know if you want to sneak one in at the beginning of January. We could do an emergency Spooky Boys.
Yeah. Ooh.
And actually, I'm going to drop. Thank you, everybody. So great to talk to you, Mitch.
Yeah.
Bye, so, Danny,
Matt.
Thank you, chat.
Bye, Matthew. I have a small bag of stuff for you.
But yeah, we should do Spooky Boys soon, maybe this week. Emergency.
Yeah, I got nothing going
emergency.
on, really.
Yeah, I got the room for Thursday if we want to do it.
Yeah, that works for me. I mean, we can figure out what we want to talk about. I figure we keep it kind of.
Do we want to do full moon?
Like so we can prep it a little, or so we can like, talk about it more.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, let's just do a fun little. We'll figure it out. Yeah, but I would love to get Matt on for full moon. So sure.
Yeah. You should see if in the upcoming months if full moon falls on a Thursday.
Oh my!
That would be amazing.
Gosh,
yeah.
Mitch, you genius!
Oh, hey!
Absolute genius.
Shaggy's got Polar Plunge coming up. It's just coming next Sunday, then.
Yeah.
Shaggy, that's awesome. Keep reminding me so we can keep like telling everybody. Yeah, and I still need to donate to you as well. I haven't done that, but I will.
Yeah.
Because we got to all support one another in those amazing causes that we're doing to help others.
Definitely.
That's so cool. What about you, Mitch? Where can people find your obsequious presence?
Places and. You'll probably find me in Dave's stream since I've somehow gotten an unofficial job.
Well, and I will be the. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it, but I'll be the first one in public to tell you that channel does not A, run or B, run successfully without you.
I still don't think I do much.
You do so much.
I come up with silly names for everyone, which I really like, which I'm not sure if anyone really pays attention to, but it makes me laugh.
I will say this, and I never realized it until Cassandra set in on a stream I was doing and like kind of just kept the chat going and everything. I don't remember what it was even. When you can do whatever it is you're doing though, and you have someone else who is like hitting the chat and like continuing to keep conversation flowing and is answering questions and just all of that, man, that makes everything so much better. Because especially like on a Friday when I'm doing games and my stupid focus goes away from like all the awesome things you guys are saying in the chat, it's I can't tell you again, it means a lot, Mitch. Just your presence as much as everybody else's presence, it's a big deal.
Yeah, Mitch, you totally do rule, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, you are the you're always the invisible hand of fate, pulling the strings above the face of the beanie verse that is Dave Wheeler. So
I still like, apparently at like various points, people thought I was just actually a custom Nightbot for his channel. like they wanted to as he's told me like a few times, just like, yeah, it's like people ask, what version of Nightbot do you use?
That's amazing. That's oh my god.
I use special version. Well, like I said, that channel and it's how successful it became in a short period of time, and keeping David sane. That's you please take a bow for that, because I'm sure he's told you, but especially on the charity streams and stuff.
Oh, those are a goddamn nightmare.
But I mean, again, because a lot of the times we're doing charity stream at the same time, he would not like. I don't think he would enjoy it or want to do it as much as he does without you having his back.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's like I enjoy. Well, I'm not going to say I enjoy his charity streams because I am too damn old to be staying up 27 hours straight. But so I do enjoy like what the good that it comes out of it, and just like the sheer absurdity of it, and just like also it's just a certain point your body's just like, fuck you, I'm not going to let you sleep for a while, so you're going to be staying up until it's going to normal bedtime again. So you did this to yourself, and then you just sort of become delirious.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
On a couple different things. So it sounds like I know that D&O tomorrow night, and then Thursday we're gonna sneak in a Spoopy Boys.
Yeah.
We'll figure out what we're gonna talk about, but it's fun. Yeah. Friday, Bad at Games. I don't know what I'm playing. I've been really kind of uninspired lately with Bad at Games, so it's somebody's issue or anything. I just either been tired from shoveling or taking all this heavy shit out of the basement to get rid of. I suck buttholes. So I've been real tired of late, and Friday after work I just want to not do anything. But I want to get back to it. I don't know if I'll go back to Knox County because I'm currently playing a character and I realized I'm well over 1,500 zombie kills.
Ooh.
And now I'm getting a little sacred cow with this character. I'm a little afraid that I'm going to die. But
play Minesweeper.
Minesweeper, yeah. But so it might be Zomboid, but I also really want to branch out and play some other games. We were going to play The Forest last Friday, and then kind of fell through. My friends are playing Sons of the Forest, but I'm not paying $40 for a new game. I don't know. I want to play something, and I would like to be playing games with more people, rather than you guys being forced to sit through me babbling. So I'll try to figure out something and someone to play it with this week, and then next Sunday we're back on the grind for prep school. Anything we want to prep next week? Anything anybody's got coming up that they want to? Oh yes, I badly want to do Squadrons, COJ Squadrons. Yes.
Oh, Star Wars.
Sexy Bink Squadrons must happen. I have spoken. I don't have a game next week, so I'm a little more open to just kind of going buck wild. So maybe we'll go back to work on Kirby a little bit more.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Or maybe Mitch, if you've got prep you want to do, you're always welcome. Always, the door is always open.
I appreciate it.
As always, it's for any of the sexy binks. But yeah, we'll figure something out. We'll prep something. We'll talk. Maybe we'll have Beard come on if he's got time, and maybe we'll just bust out that world builder stuff. Have some fun with that. And yes, we need to get Sexy Bink Squadrons on the calendar and as a terrible hashtag. So otherwise, thank you to everyone who jumped in. Thank you especially for Mitch for jumping on and telling us his tale. Which made me go, man, I really did not take advantage enough of running around the D&D multiverse and D&O currently. Because, man, taking the shitty little kids to Athos would be real fun. Yeah. Thank you again, Super Spike Shaggy. I know there was somebody else in there that I'm forgetting because I don't remember. There was someone who I don't remember. They were kind of new.
It was on the YouTube side.
Yeah, Robert Leon. Robert, thank you. Thank you. Super cool to see you. Super cool to meet you. Thank you, as always, to everyone who watches it later.
Thanks, everybody.
Colin, the magnanimous Matt Lind. Have a good rest of your Sunday, and thank you. Mwah! Oh,